YouTube! Welcome to the Fantasy Football Perspective. Been a while, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a while. I'm bringing you a Super Bowl special edition of the show. Thanks for tuning in. Whew, that break was much needed. I want to give a shout out to the content creators out there because that grind through the regular season is rough. We were pumping out 3 videos a week, and honestly, the videos themselves wasn't the hard part. It's just once you start including other people into your podcast, then you're kind of dependent on them a little bit as far as scheduling and stuff like that. When you have 5 to 6 people, all with busy schedules, all with full-time jobs on the side, it's hard to find time set aside for everybody that we can all meet and film the content. But we had a pretty successful season. I really enjoyed the content. Next year, bigger, better things as always. As we get into this more off-season type stuff, it's going to be more so as a podcast than individual videos. Maybe do one a week. I'm going to have guests on as we get going, per usual. But we're going to dip into more dynasty-related stuff until about, month or so till the actual season starts. Then we'll kind of switch to redraft leagues. But if you like dynasty fantasy football, this is going to be the place. I'm going to try, as always, not to bring you cookie cutter rankings, stuff like that, and kind of deep dive why I think certain players are better, etc., etc. Little side note about that: there is tons of dynasty fantasy football content out there for your viewing pleasure. The problem with that is it's becoming such a saturated market. It's going to be hard to kind of be different than everyone else. I'm going to try to find a way to, bring you my perspective on these rookies without just regurgitating all this other information. All these content creators are out there already have so many different rankings, mock drafts, rookie mock drafts. I just don't even know how that's even possible because in my personal perspective, I think that one of the most important aspects of rookie potential is their landing spot in draft capital. And I don't know how these guys are ranking, these minute rankings, Treylon Burks over Garrett Wilson, stuff like that, without knowing exactly where they're going and who their quarterback's going to be, what their situation is, and what the team that they got drafted to spent on them. So that's just a little side caveat. I'd keep that in mind. I'm not going to be the person that's going to be, here's my top 5 rookie wide receivers in the order I draft them. I'm always a tier type guy, especially before we even know where they're going. It's truly just based off their college tape and how we predict they're going to do. So that's just a side note. That's my little problem with the dynasty football community right now is how in the world can you rank these guys without knowing exactly where they're going, who their quarterback's going to be, what their situation is, because that's everything when it comes down to it. That is completely everything. But let's dig into the Super Bowl Sunday fantasy football perspective. And this looks to be a great game, in my opinion. Weather's obviously going to be beautiful. LA. I know it says thunderstorms out there, but it is inside of a dome. Great matchups. You got the Rams D-line versus the Bengals O-line. I hope, praying that the O-line of the Bengals can protect Joe Burrow. And I just think it's going to be a very high-paced, high-scoring game. I would personally take the over on that prop bet right off the bat. 48.5 seems a little bit low. I think it's going to be closer to 54 to 60. Both these teams kind of struggle against the tight ends, so it wouldn't surprise me if both tight ends hit the end zone. A couple prop bets. I really like another prop bet. I love the Bengals defense to score a touchdown. I know Matthew Stafford's taking care of the ball pretty well this year, but Cam Akers has a couple fumbles. Stafford can get a little careless with the ball sometimes, especially when he gets pressure. And the Bengals D-line is really good at applying pressure without blitzing. So if that happens, Matthew Stafford's suspect to rushing a couple throws, not making the right reads. And I could see the Bengals getting a pick six or a fumble recovery with those fumble problems from Cam Akers. I like to see the Bengals play a similar type defense as they played against the Chiefs last time. Double cover, one over top of Cooper Kupp, one-on-one with Odell, Van Jefferson, funnel everything in front of them. Make Matthew Stafford dink and dunk down the field and be very stout in the run game. And I think the Bengals have a very, very good chance to win this game. Very good chance. And this is going to be a little caveat from the game itself because a big, big topic of me and my friends group, I am from Ohio, is how can people who aren't Bengals fans root for the Bengals in the Super Bowl? And that's an interesting question for me because I have friends on both sides of the spectrum. I have friends that are all about the Bengals winning the Super Bowl, that are truly like Browns fans on the side or Eagles fans on the side. And then I have, the opposite. I have Browns fans that never want to see the Bengals win a single game. I think this is a very unique situation here. Let's break down. I think as fans, let's start here. As fans in general, when you're watching the Super Bowl and your team's not in it, I think we all have, a slight lean towards the team that we want to win, even though that we're not fans of that team in particular. Every year, you ask somebody, who do you want to win the Super Bowl? They usually will give you an answer, regardless if their team's in it or not. I don't really find this any different. It is a little bit weird. I get that the Bengals are in the Super Bowl as an AFC North team, and everyone in my home states either seems to be split between a Bengals fans, a Browns fans, or a Steelers fan. So people are becoming slightly irritated with people just jumping on this Bengals bandwagon when they are in our own division. I can understand that point of view. But let's break it down even farther with this one. The Bengals quarterback, Joe Burrow, has a history with Ohio State. I mean, he was 2 or 3 years at Ohio State before he transferred to go off to win the Heisman. So I would be hard-pressed to find somebody out there who is from Ohio, most likely likes Ohio State football, and isn't somehow in their head not rooting for Joe Burrow. That's kind of where I fall in. Joe Burrow is light years ahead of where anybody thought he'd be at this point. And for me to sit here and say that I'm not rooting for him to win a Super Bowl, I'd be lying. So just they have a lot of Ohio State players on their team. Von Bell, Eli Apple, Joe Burrow. I think I'm even missing a couple. That right there even raises my, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, raises my perception of why I want the Bengals to win this game. So it's almost like I just want them to win the game. I want them to win it for Ohio State. I want them to win because I like Joe Burrow. And I don't think that's a slight to Browns, Steelers, or anything else. Obviously, if the Browns were playing the Bengals, I would root for the Browns 10 out of 10 times. No doubt about it. I'd root for them hard if the Browns ever made the Super Bowl. And I don't think there's an issue with that. But we're in a weird position because our hometown is closer to Cincinnati than it is Cleveland, closer to Cincinnati than it is Steelers. So I don't get too hard pressed when people are like, I'd like to see the Bengals win it. I think that's a fair thing. Now, what is strange, and people root hard for their teams. I get that. So you have the Bengals. They have 2 sports in there: Reds, Bengals, and usually the same people who like the Reds like the Bengals. That's a fair take. I know there's some unique outliers. I just don't understand particularly, and I question this a lot anyway, I don't understand how people can get irritated with Bengals fans when they themselves are Reds fans, because usually those are in the same, alignment as fans in general. That always confused me. I know there's outliers out there, like my friend Jimmy is a Steelers fan, but he likes the Reds, but he gets real annoyed with Bengals fans. Just, that's one of the biggest rivalries in football is the Steelers versus the Bengals. So understandably, you're going to get annoyed with each other as fans. But it's hard for me to understand because he's a big Reds fan. And they're kind of, usually the same fans between the Reds and the Bengals. I know that was a lot of words. So shout out to Jimmy. Wasn't trying to call you out or anything. I just never understood that. Comment below what you think. Jimmy, defend yourself, because I am genuinely curious about that. I was wondering that last night because I feel like they're the same fans when it comes down to it. But I think all in all, in my perspective, I think it comes from simply the Steelers and Bengals rivalry and just the dislike for each other on the football field. A lot of big hits, a lot of, honestly, dirty hits between both of them on each other. And, yeah, I think that's where it stems from. So I guess I know the answer already. So I answered the question for myself. So, moving on, who do you guys want to win the game? Comment below what your guys' prediction is. I think the Bengals inch one out. I'm guessing, 32 to 28, something like that. Hits the over. Bengals win outright. I really, really, really like Tyler Boyd in this game. The Rams, Ramsey on the side is going to kind of neutralize Jamar Chase. They're going to put their second best corner on T. Higgins. And where their suspect is the tight end and the slot receiver. So I could see Tyler Boyd, get in the end zone even a couple times. I really think he's going to have a good game. A little prop bet right there. I also really, really like Kendall Blanton from the Rams. Bengals are not very good against tight ends. And as you guys probably know already, Higbee's out on IR, not playing in this game. I expect Kendall Blanton to get, 5 to 6 catches. Wouldn't surprise me if he got into the end zone. I don't know what the Rams are going to do with the running back situation. It looks like all three-headed monsters back. I don't know how they're going to split carries, so I think a lot of people is going to be fading them in the DFS world. So I'm probably not going to touch them. Obviously, I like Mixon in the run game for the Bengals. I think that he's always going to get you 2 to 3 catches, potentially. So that's where I'm kind of standing. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, not as juicy as they usually are to me with their matchup. And Joe Burrow, hopefully gets the ball out fast. He takes a lot of sacks and people blame the O-line. And their O-line has been suspect in past, but once you start digging into statistics, sacks are reflective on quarterback play as well. And that's my one critique of Joe Burrow. He does hold on the ball a long time. Where you watch like Tom Brady and Drew Brees, those guys that have been there a while. They make Reed throw the ball away. And Joe Burrow hasn't got that yet. And that kind of helps everybody when you do that because it makes the O-line look better, makes them comfortable, and they realize they don't have to block as long. They can gear up for 2 seconds of blocking opposed to 5 seconds of blocking. A lot better in their head, gives them confidence. So Joe Burrow does need to make faster reads today. I'm curious to see how they neutralize the defensive pass rush. My guess would probably be screen pass, quick slants, stuff like that to get the ball out fast, kind of slow that pass rush up, and then take the shots as necessary. I think a steady dose of Joe Mixon's probably going to happen today. 15 to 20 carries, as long as the ball keeps getting moved. Yeah, so that's where I'm kind of at with this game. I really like the Bengals' chances. I sincerely do. And wouldn't be a Browns fan if I didn't take a slight shot and say Joe Burrow might win a Super Bowl before he even beats Baker Mayfield and the Browns, which is kind of crazy to even say. So I'm pulling for the Bengals and Joe Burrow, mainly Joe Burrow. I want everyone to know that. I really like Joe Burrow. So I think they sneak out the win. I do. And they're going to be celebrating the Bengals. And the AFC North this year just completely crazy. You have the complete inverse results of what they thought it was going to be. Bengals projected to finish last. They finished first. Steelers projected to finish third. They finished second. Browns second. They actually finished third. And the Ravens were supposed to finish first, and they finished last. Complete inverse. Awesome football. Awesome year. I hope you all had a good fantasy football season and were able to use some of my insight to help you get into the money. I want to be transparent with how I did. I ended up in the money in 4 out of my 5 leagues. Didn't win any. I got a second place, unfortunately. I got a third, and I won the overall. We have a payout for regular season league champion, winning the 1 seed. I won that. And I got I'm in a 24-man league, and you win your money back if you make the playoffs in that. They take like 4 from each side. 12-man. That's complicated. Anyway, long story short, I ended up making a pretty decent chunk of change this year with my leagues. 4 out of 5. I was in underdog fantasy leagues. I was in 6 of them, and I cashed in 4 of them. 4 of the 6. So I got some money back from that. DFS has been fun. Moving on to NBA, I really like playing NBA DFS. So yeah, everything's going well personally, especially in the fantasy football community as far as I go. But let's move on to a different topic. Like I said, this is going to be more of a podcast view. And I want to talk about the transfer portal and the NCAA. This is a complete switch. And I just want to hear everyone's personal opinion on that. So you have the transfer portal. And as an Ohio State fan, I get kind of annoyed because these freshmen will come in. They don't see the field immediately because you're at one of the, a top 5 football university. And then they automatically hit in the transfer portal, and they're allowed to play immediately. I don't know how I feel about that. The reason I don't know how I feel, I know I don't like it when it happens, but I'm starting to, understand a little bit, is cases like Joe Burrow and cases like Jamison Williams. When Joe Burrow wasn't going to get a chance to play at Ohio State, he goes to LSU and dominates, wins the Heisman, has probably statistically the best quarterback season of all time at the college level. How can you question the transfer portal when he's going out and do that? How can you question Jamison Williams leaving Ohio State? He'd been the wide receiver 4 on the depth chart this year, barely getting playing time, and now he worked himself up into a first-round pick potentially. How can you question those types of plays? Like, I know obviously those are 2 outliers, but if that's even in the realm of possibility, the NCAA has to keep that in mind, that these guys do deserve the opportunity to go out and find a better situation for them because a crowded wide receiver room or a crowded quarterback room. So I don't know. I feel like they do have to do something about it. We look at college recruiting overall right now, and it's just insane how much money these guys are getting with these new NIL deals. Let's look at this real quick. I don't know if you guys have looked into college recruiting very much, but this year's class rankings, Texas A&M, man, have they have the best recruiting class of all time. And there's rumors out there, the $20 to $40 million range that this university is paying these players to come here. They got the number 2 player, the number 9 player, the number 11 player, the number 16 player. They're probably going to get this guy as well, number 18. They have 22, 23, 25. And it just keeps going. 39, 47. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They have literally 20% of the top 50 players going to Texas A&M. How does the NCAA, cap this somehow to make sure that this kind of stuff doesn't happen? Because the rich are just going to get richer, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't going to create, diversions of who's going to be on top in college football. If Texas A&M is willing to shovel out $20 to $40 million for recruiting class, other schools are going to catch on there and start buying their own recruiting classes. This is insane. It's literally insane. I don't know how you can regulate it, but something needs to be done because this is, it almost is getting to the point where I feel like you need to put a salary cap on these guys, on these schools. I don't know how that would work as far as finances or how you would even go about that, but salary cap, in my opinion, seems to be the best way to go to kind of create some equality as far as the recruiting game goes. You just can't. That's just insane. The best recruiting class of all time goes to Texas A&M, so congratulations. Future bet, if you're going to place a future bet, Texas A&M 2024, that is a very, very, very smart bet for a national championship. Texas A&M 2024, future champion. Get good odds while you can. All right. Moving on a little bit. So, circling back to the how can you become a Bengals fan when they make the Super Bowl when they're not your team? One more thing. This is the last thing we'll say about that. So Alabama versus Georgia was in the NCAA championship this year. I don't have any skin in that game. I like Ohio State. I bleed scarlet and gray. I literally can't stand either team, but I still wanted Alabama to win just because Jamison Williams is there. I think it's just a similar situation to that. That is the last thing I'm going to say about that. So let's dig into the NFL draft and, as far as dynasty players, where we think these players are going to go, and does it help their value, or what do you think about these landing spots for these players? Let's just do the first one. What's the most Cam Mueller's 7-round mock draft? Let's do this. CBS. We're just looking at skilled positions, obviously. And you can look at a million mock drafts. These are never correct, but it does give you kind of a style. And I'm going to give my opinion. If it's a skilled position that goes somewhere, is that a good landing spot for him? Start off here. Sam Howell going to the Broncos. Don't love that. I personally don't think Sam Howell's going to be any better than Drew Lock. He's short. He is mobile, but his arm is he has a crazy arm. I get it. He has good accuracy downfield, but he's little. I just don't like Sam Howell. They talked him up so much this year, and he just came out and did not produce. I think he's extremely overrated. So I do not like that spot for the Denver Broncos as far as a fantasy, not only for Sam Howell, but for all their weapons they have. They have Javonte Williams. They have, Jerry Jeudy. They have Cortland Sutton. They brought back Tim Patrick. Sam Howell goes there. That's not raising the value of any of those guys. I think the Broncos are in a situation where they truly, truly need to say, we have all these weapons here. Let's get an experienced quarterback in no matter what it costs and be the best version of ourselves now, because there's going to be a time where we can't pay all these guys. All right, this is a new one. First wide receiver off the board going to the Jets, Drake London. Drake London going to the Jets. Drake London, very good comparison is Mike Evans. He's a big, big dude. He does have a little bit of an injury history, but I actually like this landing spot to the Jets. He brings a different dimension to the Jets offense. So you have, Corey Davis running a bunch of routes across the middle, the long post routes, drag routes. You have Elijah Moore in the slot doing all the quick slants, all the quick routes, quick outs. And now you have Drake London, another tall receiver for the jump balls down the field. I actually like that landing spot. I would be pretty surprised if the Jets went wide receiver. I don't think that's really pushing the needle. So I don't really think this is going to happen. But if it did happen, I kind of like that. Not going to lie. Kenny Pickett going to the Washington Commanders. In my opinion, I like Kenny Pickett the most at the quarterback class so far on tape. Like I told you at the beginning of this, though, landing spot matters. The Commanders is a pretty good landing spot. They have Terry McLaurin there. They have Gibson there. They have a couple decent. They have a good tight end, Logan Thomas. Not a bad landing spot for Kenny Pickett. So falls out of the top 10. So now you're getting to those middle of the road NFL teams. Not a bad landing spot. I don't hate that. I would like that. So, woo! This is what I wanted to see, ladies and gentlemen. Garrett Wilson to the Browns from Ohio State. I love me some Garrett Wilson. When I watch him play, and my friend BJ thinks the same thing, it's like I'm watching OBJ at college, man. This guy gets off the ball so well. Makes acrobatic catches. He's not as fast as OBJ, but man, does this guy create separation. I am very, very curious to see what he's going to run at the combine. If he can get under 4.5, I think he's an elite prospect. And honestly, I don't even think he's going to be on the board at 13 if he runs, a 4.4. We'll see. I don't know how fast he is. He had a couple long catches this year where he didn't have that long breakaway speed and kind of the safeties caught him. So I'm curious to see how that goes. But obviously I'd like him on the Browns. As far as fantasy, though, I'm kind of going to avoid any Browns wide receiver until I see a steady dose of passing plays from the Browns. Last year, little side note, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. We all know that we underperformed this year. What gives me hope as a Browns fan is going back and watching games where Baker Mayfield was completely healthy and just watching him dominate the game. Go back and watch the Chiefs game. Go back and watch the first half of the Texans game. The torn labrum in his left shoulder definitely was affecting his accuracy down the field for whatever reason. Maybe a little bit apprehensive, making his throws, didn't really want to get hit, kind of fade away throws, but that was definitely affecting his accuracy. Now, what the one thing that does bother me with Baker Mayfield, though, is he gets a lot of balls hit down at the line of scrimmage. And I don't know how you're going to fix that because he's not going to be able to change his height. So, this is a make or break season for Baker Mayfield. If he does not do well, they will trade him. They will do whatever they need to release him. I think he's on the last year of his contract. And bring in another quarterback. So, I'm very, very curious to see how he does this year. Completely healthy, no excuses, make or break. If he shows the glimpses of what he did in the Chiefs and Texans game, how he ended his rookie year, he has that in him. That's the issue. He has it in him. He can play well in certain situations. We need to see consistency, and I need to see some, 2 minutes to go. We need a field goal, him to drive it down the field and get the field goal or a touchdown. Haven't seen that from him. Maybe once, maybe twice. But more likely than not, he does not get the job done. So we have to see it from Baker Mayfield this year. Garrett Wilson coming into that wide receiver room will help tremendously because last year, they did the sky cam of the receivers down the field during a pass route and nobody was open. So Garrett Wilson does create separation. So I would like that. Matt Corral, QB Ole Miss to the Eagles. I just don't really see the Eagles moving on from Jalen Hurts. If they do, I really think it's going to be in some sort of trade for a different QB. Russell Wilson's linked to the Eagles, and I don't think that'd be a horrible trade. Both new fresh starts. Jalen Hurts goes to the Seahawks where he can play in a system that's not that much different than the Eagles. He can run, use his athleticism, get out of the pocket, throw deep throws, has good receivers. I think that's a good trade for both teams. Obviously, it'd take more on the Eagles' end, a couple first-round picks or whatever in Jalen Hurts, but I just don't think this trade's going to happen. Philadelphia Eagles, so I'm actually not even going to talk about it. Quarterback class altogether this year, not that great on paper as of now. Like I said, if anything's lacking as far as like dynasty content out there, even NFL content, honestly, is the scouting department for quarterbacks. There's no way to tell if a quarterback's going to be good. I'm sorry. It's all situational. You got Trevor Lawrence, who's supposed to be a sure thing. Rookie comes in. I mean, he didn't throw a touchdown pass for like 9 weeks. Didn't look good. He's already on the second NFL coach. You don't think that's going to have an impact on his career? Could he be good down the road? Sure. Could he keep having mediocre season after mediocre season? Sure. Sam Darnold, second pick overall. Hasn't really done much. Hasn't really progressed as much as you thought. You just can't tell with these quarterbacks how they're going to progress, how much better. Josh Allen, complete opposite, comes in, arm, the strongest arm in the NFL, throwing slant patterns all the way into out of the stadium. But now he's like one of the top 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL. Situation matters, and development matters, and it's hard to predict that. So Malik Willis, he's getting big recognition now from the Senior Bowl, going to the Saints. This is a move that I think could actually happen. They used Taysom Hill at QB last year, and they actually moved the ball okay with Taysom Hill. So I think someone with a better arm than Taysom Hill and who is athletic, I think he could succeed in that system. So I'd like this. If this happened and the Saints actually used first-round capital Malik Willis, I would really like that landing spot. Another QB off the board, man. This mock draft had the QBs going off the board fast. Carson Strong, Nevada. I haven't really dug into him, so we'll see. think he's pretty big. Let's see how big he is. Pro Football Network, Carson Strong, Nevada QB drafting report. Computer's being slow. We'll come back to that. Oh, there it is. So he's 6'3", about 6'4", 225. So he's got the big arm, and we'll see. Big guy. I like big quarterbacks. There we go. Jameson Williams going to the Raiders. I like that play a lot. You know, Ruggs had all his stuff going on last year. They had to release him. Hope he's doing okay, and hope he's getting the help that he needs. Jameson Williams goes and fills that role as the speed guy. I think he has a better route tree than Ruggs, honestly. And, yeah, I could see him succeeding very, very well. Because Ruggs was coming into his own before all that stuff happened. And Jameson Williams could fill that role. I like that play. I like that. New offensive coordinator, new coach there. The Patriots, Josh McDaniels goes to the Raiders. I like that. And then we got Chris Olave to the Packers. This is all dependent on what Aaron Rodgers does. Obviously, if the Packers truly draft a receiver, which we think they should do every single year, it seems like, and Devontae stays, or it goes, Chris Olave could be the number one fast there. So we'll see. A lot dependent on situation. And I don't know much about Jalen Tolbert. I think this is kind of surprising when you have Burks on the table. I have to watch him. The only receivers that I've really watched so far on film is Jameson Williams, Drake London, Treylon Burks, and both Buckeye receivers. And there you go. He's going to the Detroit Lions. I actually like that. Depending on who the Lions quarterback is, I like that. So, that's just a quick mock draft and how, position does matter where you go. It's so easy to say, this guy runs a 4.4. He's good out of his breaks. He's going to succeed at the NFL. It does not always work like that. So, all these ranking videos that you see right now, putting people on your radar, in my personal opinion, you can throw that out the window right now until we actually know where they're going. I think that matters much more. Let's just take last year, for example. You have Devontae Smith, possibly one of the best wide receiver seasons of all time in NCAA, goes to the Eagles, and he was getting drafted at the 110, 111. He does have size issues and stuff like that as well. But the dude creates separation. What do you think Devontae Smith gets drafted in rookie drafts if he goes to, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good thing. What if he goes to the Rams to play their slot receiver? I mean, that dude would be probably a wide receiver 2 on the season. What if he goes to, I'm blanking on these teams where he could go and succeed, but there's so many teams that he could have been that's better than, a run-eccentric team like the Philadelphia Eagles. And that changes things. So, there's that. That is going to finish the Super Bowl edition of the Fantasy Football Perspective. Thanks for tuning in. More stuff is going to start coming. We're going to do about an episode a week. We are going to dig more into rookie drafts coming up. Shout out to the Legacy Lineup. They just went on YouTube and other platforms. They are the sponsor of the show. So shout out Jimmy and Rin. I hope you all have a great day. Go Bengals. Go Joe Burrow. Bring Ohio a Super Bowl. Hope you all have a good day. Peace.